Hello, it's Reija and welcome to another video. Well, apparently I'm here to reject modernity and embrace tradition in order to make the mid-year book freakout tag, which is a booktube staple. So without further ado, let's get started. Best book you've read so far in 2022. So this is actually very surprising to me because the best book I've read so far this year is The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk. This has been the very first book by C.L. Polk that I have read. I have been very interested in their Kingston Cycle series, but I haven't gotten around to reading it. And since this was a standalone, I just picked it up and I devoured it in a matter of like 2 days. And it is a pretty hefty book. It very much like embraces this whole Regency inspired fantasy era. It tackles topics of feminism and gender roles in society, and especially women's roles in society, and it also tackles things like asexuality and forced marriage, and it also has a very nice romance at the center of it. I really liked it, and it has been the standout book for me so far this year. Best sequel you've read so far in 2022. I haven't read that many sequels this year. Interestingly, I've only read, I think, 2 sequels, unless you count like manga and graphic novels, but those tend to be on longer series, so let's focus on books on this question. But the very best one that made me very happy, I read The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers, which is the series finale of the Wayfarers quartet now. And I really enjoyed it. I liked it so much. Not a perfect book by any means, but it just gave me all the hopeful, fuzzy vibes of reading about people not being shitty to each other and trying to work together in a very stressful situation where basically everyone gets stranded on this planet because a whole satellite system breaks and starts pummeling the planet's surface with a falling space debris, and it's very stressful. But these people who are basically on a kind of space gas station, essentially like a layover station, all have to basically band together, work together, and figure each other out and trust each other to make the best out of a worst case scenario. I really like that story, and unlike a lot of Becky Chambers novels, I think this one dealt with a little bit more conflict. I feel like this one and the third one in the series are most conflict heavy books, and there isn't a lot of conflict, but these are the most conflict heavy books, because the criticism I often hear of Becky Chambers is that she doesn't write a lot of conflict in her books, and therefore they can be a little bit boring. But to me, I haven't ever really felt that. I feel like her books tend to focus more on the inner turmoil and the inner psychology of the characters, which is very interesting to me. So yeah, this has been my favorite sequel so far. New release you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, so here I'm going to talk a little bit about manga, because there's a bunch of manga that I want to read. First of all, Delicious in Dungeon Volume 10 has been out for a while and I still haven't read it. And I need to, because I need to know what happens. And also the 11th volume is coming out later this year, so I'm I need to get on this track. Also, Witch Hat Atelier Volume 9 just came out. Need to read that. I'm very excited because the last volume kind of ended in a low-key cliffhanger and I need to know what happens, especially regarding to Kifri's and Ulrich's relationship and how that whole thing gets set up, because I need to know my found family fathers are doing okay, and they have it, and they have their shit figured out. I need to know, okay? So yeah, those are the releases that I'm currently most looking forward to. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I have plenty, but the three that come to mind immediately are Africa Risen. This is an anthology that is coming out from Tor.com in November. And then there's Delicious in Dungeon Volume 11, which I'm really excited about, and that comes out in like the August, September, around that time. And then there's Village at the Edge of Noon, which is translated from Russian, and it's basically a kind of like urban fantasy dark fairy tale sort of thing. And it is coming out from Angry Robot Books. So those are like the three that I'm currently most excited for. But there's also like the Oleander Sword from Tasha Suri, but I can't say I'm very excited for it, but I probably shouldn't be, considering that I haven't read the Jasmine Throne yet, which I should. So yeah, I need to get my priorities right. Biggest disappointment. For this, I have to go with Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Volume 1 by Mo Xiang Tongshu, translated by Suika. And the reason is that I watched The Untamed. I like The Untamed. I was expecting to really love the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. And I DNF'd it at 200 and some pages because I just couldn't do it. It just like the pacing was off. I didn't really enjoy the characters as much in written form as I had in the TV show. And it just wasn't for me. So yeah, I was very disappointed by it. Biggest surprise. For this, I have to definitely go with Under the Oak Tree by Kim Suji, because I did not know how obsessed I would be about this whole series. First of all, there's a little bit of a predatory practice being done by the publisher, because they are publishing, I'm reading this on ebook, and they're publishing the ebook in like little chunks. So currently there's like, this was originally a Korean web novel, and the way it works is that they're publishing the first volume in these little chunks right now. So there's part 1 of volume 1, part 2 of volume 1, part 3 of volume 1, part 4 of volume 1, and there's probably going to be at least 2 more parts until volume 1 gets finished, and then they're going to continue on to the second one. So, and it costs like $3 or something per part. So it's like, I have some qualms about this, but then again, I'm also so obsessed with this story that I have just been buying the ebooks like a good little kid and enjoyed them. And this is basically like fantasy romance smut with a surprisingly intricate world building and magic systems. So if you enjoy fantasy, if you enjoy like epic battles with monsters, and you enjoy some like magical school elements, but you also enjoy a good deal of like erotica and like smut and pretty graphic sex scenes, you might enjoy Under the Oak Tree. And also, if all of these descriptions that I gave you are a huge turnoff for you, you absolutely should not read Under the Oak Tree. But I feel like Under the Oak Tree is, for me, what the Court of Mist and Fury is for a lot of Sarah J. Maas fans. I mean, it's like candy to me. I just like, I love it. It has made me so happy. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? For this, I am just going to go with C.L. Polk, because I finally read their book, one of their books, and I really enjoyed it, and now I'm even more excited to pick up more of their work. So yeah, C.L. Polk is definitely one of my favorite new to me authors. But I would also say that I have been introduced to a lot of interesting and new voices through the Shorts and Sorcery book club that I'm hosting. I can't name all of them, obviously, but I'm really happy that I started the book club, because it has made me delve deeper into like short fiction and also explore new authors that way. So I have definitely read a lot from like new to me authors and authors I had not previously heard from before. So that is definitely a plus. Newest fictional crush. Normally I don't have a lot of fictional crushes, but this year I have found webtoons, and webtoons not only give you like the written form of storytelling, but they're also very visual. Therefore, you get a lot of eye candy. So I would have to say both of the main characters of Wind on a Dry Branch, Rieta and Killian. First of all, they give me a bit of a like the bisexual energy of this couple is palpable because they're both incredibly hot and capable. Also, this whole story has this very slow burn romance, which is tantalizingly like slow, and you just want to like push these two together and be like, now kiss, damn it. And also, what I like about this series is that basically every single other character is shipping the main couple, and they're like, how can we get these two idiots together? And it's delightful. I love this series so much. And then the other one would be Twilight Poem, which is actually based on a web novel by Kim Suji, who wrote Under the Oak Tree. And in Twilight Poem, you have two main characters, or two male leads that the main character is sort of entangled with, and both of them are incredibly hot and also very problematic. Like the other one is basically a demon who wants to eat her, and the other one is kind of like an estranged, arranged husband who kind of uses her for political gain, but they're also very hot. So yeah, I have just started that series. Don't know what to make of it yet, other than it is deliciously well drawn, and I like the premise of the story. It is going in interesting places. So I can't wait to talk more about it once I have actually read more from it. So yeah, those would be my current fictional crushes. Newest favorite character. So I have some, and they're actually both couples. So first of all, I have the main duo of Semantic Error. So basically we have Sangwoo, and we also have Jaeyoung. And they are very much like opposites attract. One is like kind of like neurodivergent programmer, very like stickler to the rules, very like can't read humor, can't read a lot of situations, and is also face blind. And then we have Jaeyoung, who is very like extroverted, gives all that bisexual disaster energy, and I really love their dynamic in their relationship. They actually like talk to each other, which is very interesting and fresh in a BL story. I can tell you that consent and communication are not like staples of that genre. Let me tell you, at least not in like the last decades or so. So I'm very excited for these characters. And the other couple that I have is Matt and Nando from Doctors Are Out, which is a webtoon that I have been reading recently, and it is currently in its second season on webtoon, and I'm very much happy and excited to be reading it. It's very wholesome. It has many different types of like romances going on, but the main focus is on the two doctors, so a vet and a medical doctor. So Nando and Matt specific, like respectively. Really have been enjoying that series. And those are my favorite characters. Book that made you cry. Not a lot of books have made me cry, to be honest. Maybe cry out in frustration, more like, but books that definitely have elicited the most like emotional response out of me this year have been Bitter by Akwakia Mezi, because it deals with a lot of like violence and like societal oppression, and that a lot of like minority and marginalized groups face, and it is very like sort of gross. It has very like gross realism sort of feel about it, even though it is speculative fiction and has like a fantastical element to it. It is like, it feels like you could be there on the ground, and it's very like gets under your skin, and it makes you very uncomfortable, and that is the point of the book. So I would say that that is definitely one that has made me emotional. Another one would be To Your Eternity. I have read 4 volumes of that manga by now, and it is by Yoshitoki Oima, the author who also did A Silent Voice. And To Your Eternity deals a lot with like what it is to be human, and also it deals a lot with death, rebirth, and resurrection, and it is very sad. It is very nihilistic also. Like it has this idea of like hope and human connection, but it is also very sad, and you kind of get scared to get emotionally attached to any character because none of them are safe, and basically they're all like in danger of dying gruesomely. So you kind of get scared to get attached to any one specific character. But yeah, that has been a really great manga series to start. I still need to continue on, but I am still not emotionally prepped for the next volume, so I'm taking a little bit of a break now. But yeah, definitely a series that has made me like very emotional and sad because of because of how it treats its characters. And then finally, Witch Hat Atelier Volume 6 specifically has a very disturbing scene between Olruggio and Kifri, who are 2 of my favorite characters from that series. And I'm not going to go into any detail about what that scene is, but that scene made me really frustrated and angry, and like I need that scene to have some sort of like impact on what happens in future volumes, because that scene was such a disturbing scene, both in terms of imagery and as well as like the breach of trust that happens in that scene, that I really hope that it won't get brushed aside, and it will be like impactful on how the character relationships proceed in the future. But I also have a huge trust in Kamome Shirahama in terms of her writing, so I feel like she will do a fantastic job in that regard. But yeah, that volume broke me a little bit. Book that made you happy. Well, considering how obsessed I have been with it, I would say Under the Oak Tree by Kim Soo-ji, and I would also say that Doctors Are Out by Blau has been consistently such a light-hearted and lovely series to follow. So yeah, I would pick those 2. And also, okay, let's face it, Semantic Error as well. Like Under the Oak Tree, Doctors Are Out, and Semantic Error have just been the 3 things that have kind of kept me feeling like a human being during this year. So yeah, shout out to those 3 series for keeping me functional emotionally. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. It is this little double feature. I went ahead and bought the Song of Achilles and Circe by Madeline Miller in these lovely Illumicrate editions. So yeah, I basically I saw these. The Song of Achilles is one of my favorite books of all time. I still have not read Circe though, but I basically just wanted to have at least a very nice edition of the Song of Achilles, and you know, Circe was also featured in this like double feature, so why not? The worst thing that can happen is that I don't think it's great. I still have a beautiful book for it. So yeah, this has definitely been the most beautiful thing I have bought this year, and that I currently own, I think. not the most beautiful edition that I own in general, but like one of the most beautiful things ever. Like just like I'm a magpie. I love all things that shine and glitter. So yeah. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, I will have an announcement for the Shorts and Sorcery Book Club coming out in a couple days. So all of the books mentioned in that video, I will have to read. Like basically all of the books that I am planning on reading for the Shorts and Sorcery Book Club, I have to read because that is the function of organizing a book club. You're kind of supposed to read the books that you choose. And also before August 11th or August 12th, I should read as many of the Hugo nominees for this year's Hugo Awards if I want to like make a fair assessment and fair evaluation of all of the nominees and actually vote. So yeah, those are like a huge priority right now. I need to be finishing up Hugo nominees, which reminds me that the moment I stop filming, I'm going to be going and reading one of the Hugo short stories, just so you know. And there you have it. This has been my take on this year's The Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag. Tell me in the comments what has been the biggest surprise for you in terms of reading. Like what book has been like the biggest, what book has made the biggest impact on you specifically? Or what book has been the most disappointing? Answer those two questions, or all of these. I would very much be interested to know. And leave me a clover emoji down in the comments so that I know that you are here. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!